Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules and Matt Anime Hour, where we talk about anime. Every week, we watch a couple episodes of a different anime, and we talk about them, give our thoughts. And this week, and for the past couple of weeks, we've been watching Black Clover, and this is the final episode that we're going to be doing about Black Clover, because at the end of this episode, we're going to be picking a new anime to watch for a little while and get our thoughts, and we're just moving on. We're moving on, going to give our final thoughts. We're going to be going and talking about episode 17 through episode 19, 17, 18, and 19 today. If you haven't seen all the other ones where we discuss all the other episodes before then, go back in the catalog. If you're listening on YouTube, it's all on Spotify. You can watch it and all that stuff. But I didn't go on this Black Clover journey alone. I am always joined by my co-host, Matt Galley. Matt, are you sad to see it go so quickly? Black Clover.
Sad to see it go. Happy that we got to spend our time with it.
Yeah.
It's been interesting rewatching Black Clover. I am excited to get into something new, something that I haven't seen that I'll be able to share my thoughts on here. But it's definitely been interesting rewatching Black Clover, because it's one of those things where, not all the things exactly played out how I remembered it the first time, but
Okay.
like I'm also getting to see things with the context of, later on in the series.
For sure, because me and you had a very different experience because I haven't seen it. I didn't know what was going on. I have all these questions and I know you have the answers, but I know you have been refraining to give any answers away. But you have seen this before. But for all the anime that is possible coming up next, you haven't seen any of them. So I'm glad that you're going to be joining on that road of seeing something completely new, something completely fresh, and it's going to be fun. We're going to be picking our next anime at the end, but if you want to suggest an anime for us to watch next, 500 bits on Twitch. We're doing it live. Hi, hello, everybody that's watching us live. Live on Twitch right now, 500 bits, and that goes between me and Matt, but that gets your anime suggestion on in the little treasure chest that we're going to be picking out at the end of the show. So 500 bits by during the show, and that's how that works. But let's get started because we have a lot to do. We are going to rank it. You're going to see how we rank these anime going forward, but let's dive into episode 17, Destroyer. And Matt, why don't you give us a little rundown of what happened in episode 17 of Black Clover called Destroyer?
Um Breaking down episode 17, we a lot of action ensues because
Sure.
it basically brings our two parties together. The two parties that were in the dungeon, the Golden Dawn, the Black Bulls, they come together in a moment where the Golden Dawn seem to be at the very end of the rope, and they all kind of show up in time to where, like, Asta saves Yuno, and Lux saves Klaus, and Noelle assists Mimosa. And that's basically the gist of the 17th episode. A lot of action, a lot of aerial shots of Yuno's like wind magic at play, him being able to kind of like have tons of movement and freedom in the air. But as we've seen with magical attributes in the show before, it's kind of a really bad fight for him to have, where he's got this wind element versus a hard rock diamond element.
Thank you to Drew, who in the chat here gave 500 bits. Thank you so much for the 500 bits. And they say Overlord. So Overlord is an anime. I'm assuming it's good and not any etchy or anything. I trust you. But we
I've
can
seen a
add that
pinch of
one in.
Overlord. I have seen a pinch of that. I've watched, I think, the
Okay.
first episode.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Overlord. Okay, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate you here on the Twitch stream, live Twitch stream. We'll add Overlord very soon. But so a couple things here. We learn about Mars because I don't think we got a name, and throughout these couple episodes, we learn more about the Diamond Kingdom's Mars. and very interesting character by the end, but I get their name right now. Um, and it kind of another thing was kind of it's kind of solidifies because the smoke mage, I forgot his name. What's his name? The guy
Black Lotus.
Black Lotus. There it is. Um, Black Lotus again. He mentions it once more, and they really want you to get it in your head that he's never seen anybody that who lacked magic. So again, another
That's
reinforcement
right. That's right.
from another kingdom where he's like, bro, he doesn't have magic. This is the first time we've seen it too. So it's like it's just further letting us know that Asta is super unique, uh,
Hmm.
which was really interesting. But I think it was Klaus. Klaus mentioned the Mars and how it's possibly artificially enhanced magic, fight to the death battle royale style. I put it that Mars is the only survivor of this whole Diamond Kingdom thing where
Experiments, Klaus, I think, calls
experiments.
it.
And I just thought battle royale for once, like they pick kids and there's a bunch of kids and the last one surviving gets the magic
Gets to
artificially
live.
enhanced stuff, gets to live. Honestly, the first thing that I thought of, there's been a couple times in the series where I had to suspend some disbelief, but here too, kind of, I don't know why can't everybody live? Why can't you just have like an army of superpowered kids? Like that would seem to be more powerful
Sure,
if you
sure.
just have a bunch of them instead
Hmm.
of just one. Okay, everybody, all of you enhanced kids that we taught magic to at a young age, let's just get one of you. I don't know.
Hmm.
Did you find anything strange with that? I just
I mean, let's run it to a similar parallel with something else in, stepping out of anime for just a moment into video games with Halo and the Spartan program, where that's what they kind of did. They abducted kids at a
true.
young age to do all of these like artificial enhancements on them and kind of create this army of super soldiers that they could have by a certain point. But where is the benefit in just kind of culling your culling everybody out and then
Yeah.
just having like one singular like thing? That sounds like putting all your eggs in one basket to me, which is something I was taught to never do.
Yeah, so I thought that was really weird. That was the first instance, and we're definitely going to talk about Mars's backstory throughout the other two episodes. But I just thought that was weird. They were like, only once I heard about this and whatever, and I was like, but why would you do that? And so I
Because
was
the
just like,
Diamond Kingdom are those guys.
yeah, I guess
It's those
so.
guys over there. That's what
It's
they do. That's not what
okay,
we do here in the
whatever,
Clover
man.
Kingdom.
We're we're making sense over here. My bad. No sense here. But finds strength in his flashback of Asta, who never gave up, and that was sort of a theme as well throughout the whole thing. I love and Asta's relationship
Mhm.
throughout this whole thing and throughout the entire series so far that we've seen. I love, well, I like that they depend on each other. I don't like that they don't say it. I want them to
Yes.
say it.
I
Like,
I love the moment literally Asta comes to rescue Yuno from being crushed by a gigantic diamond sword being
yeah,
swung at him. Yuno gets up and he's like, "Oh, that well, I just saved you, so that ruins that." And
yeah.
it doesn't even matter because I was about to do this super cool counterattack and totally take him off guard. And
He was like, I
we all
thought,
know that everything just attempted
bro.
like didn't
Yeah.
work, but
It's like, I
he's
thought
still
we were
that.
even. And I was like, oh my God, saved you. Yeah.
Yep. But I love that like smug little like higher than thou
Yeah.
mindset that he keeps towards Asta to just never let him get that on him.
I would love it more if they just said, I love you. Not like a relationship love. I would love them to just be like, bro, I love you as a rival. Like, I love this that we have because they're making each other better.
Mhm.
I love this. Just like just to like step out of the anime, like, well, I know we're doing a thing, but just want to let you know I'm enjoying this, and let's keep it going. Okay, that's all. That's all.
And then by the end of the episode, like we see Mars, he kind of goes into this like golem mode where like all of the diamonds kind of engulf him, and Asta still manages to like get the upper hand with his sword and uh defeat Mars out of this giant state. And that happens kind of like just in a brief moment. Like he comes out of the water, and Asta with like one big attack just kind of knocks him right back down.
Yeah, that was something I think I saw Mars grabbing Asta's sword, and I felt like they didn't explicitly say it, but I felt like Mars was trying to break the sword and he couldn't
Hmm.
with magic. Like he just kind of grabbed it and Asta just kind of pushed.
He grabbed it while his hand was shrouded in the diamonds, and I
Yeah,
think his he even like put diamonds to secure his feet to the ground, as if to say like, no, you're not going to move me, like
sure.
but yeah, he just breaks through. Asta
Yeah.
breaks through all of that.
And it is said explicitly that Noel said Asta nullifies magic. So that's kind
Hmm.
of a better understanding of what they understand Asta's power to be. So Noel explicitly tells what's her name? Not Margarita. I keep thinking
Mimosa.
Margarita.
She
Mimosa.
tells that to Klaus, while Klaus is
Oh,
kind of
okay,
like,
yeah, yeah.
how is this guy like doing all of these things? He's just a peasant from the Black Bulls. And Noel's like, you're just standing there complaining. Like, just shut up and watch. Like, look at what he's doing, and
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
decide if he's just a peasant. Um, I
Uh,
love the moment in like there's a lot of action going on with Yuno dueling Mars and then Asta dueling Mars, but there's just a brief moment where like a bunch of rubble is falling from the ceiling, a bunch of diamonds that broke off of one of Mars's attacks.
uh-huh.
And Asta uses his sword, the broadside of it, to like swing it and hit one of the chunks of diamond back at Mars, like giving him a like a makeshift ranged attack. And like it
Uh-huh.
just happens in a brief moment, but it's just one of those things that shows you that like Asta's like thinking. Like he's not just he is never giving up, and he will just brute force when he has to, but he's constantly like thinking about like how can I like keep fighting?
Sure.
How can I apply my skills to like be a better combatant?
I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed the fight stuff. And when whatchamacallit, when Asta says, or no, Mars tells Asta that you're nothing but a pebble. And then I wrote this down because I was like, yo, like some lines during the show, sometimes I'm just like, okay, cool. But then like other times I'm like, yo, and then there's some lines that just hit, and I'm like, okay, you're doing the anime thing, and I'm like, cool, cool, cool. So Mars says, "You're nothing but a pebble. I'm the diamond or whatever." And then Asa's like, "Sure, I may be a pebble, but I'll be the pebble that shatters the diamond." And I'm like, bro, let's go. So like some of the I got it, even though sometimes Asta is annoying, not so much this episode, it gets pretty high. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, let's go. So really enjoyed this episode. Pretty good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Let's go
Yes.
on to episode 18, Memories of You. Memories of You, episode 18. Matt, tell us a little bit about this episode.
Episode 18, Memories of You. Basically, we get to see both the groups enter the treasure trove room because they defeated Mars. He's restrained. They enter the treasure trove room, and by the end of the episode, we basically have finding this scroll with all of these like characters in a forgotten language that he doesn't like recognize. um while they're going through everything, the treasure trove, Mars surprises them and catches them off guard. He's recovered from his wounds and he's back in his golem mode. And before anybody can even react, he's knocked Asta through a wall, and he's put everybody else in like cases of diamond to restrict their movement. Noel attempts to like he's shrouded in these fires, and Klaus is like, "What's going on?" He's like, he's using a different attribute of magic. It's magical flames that are covering him. And Noel goes to put the fires out, and Mars just like gives her a swing with his golem arm and just lays her out. And Mimosa begins to try to heal Noel. Asta, after being knocked through the wall, he finds this he tried to fight Mars before, but like his sword wasn't quick enough. Mars was like, I know your attacks now, I know your moves. If I just send too many attacks for you to react to, like you can't do anything. And that's what he does. Thus then knocking Asta through a wall. Asta is trying to figure out what he's supposed to do because he can't move fast enough to react to the attacks. And he finds another sword resting in this room behind him that looks black and dirty like his other sword, but this one's a lot smaller, a lot lighter. And using the sword, he's able to get the upper hand on Mars once again, and using an attack that seems to be borrowing mana from Noel after she gives Asta words of encouragement. He's able to kind of put Mars in a knocked out state again, 2 times now.
So yeah, I don't know what all that's about the sword, the new sword, the faster, smaller sword, and what they're alluding to, how he had a water attack with encouragement from Noel. But the idea, and we get a lot more, like I love how in each 15-minute episode, in each 10-minute episode, we get just a little bit more about the world, right? So we learn in this one about the mana, how each mage can only have one magic attribute, either fire, water, wind. We kind of knew that, but this is where it explicitly says it.
And
And
basically, yeah, they come from those 4 main attribute types, and using a mix of those, like that's how all the other magic types derive.
And it's just like alchemy, like just they all come from the same thing. And we learned that this is like very weird that Mars has 2, that his grimoire is a combination of 2 books. It looks like even Klaus made a note about it.
They look stitched together.
Yeah, that was kind of stitched together. We get more of that into the next episode, but I like that we're getting like a little bit more like I really do enjoy learning more about the world, and I'm cool with how much they're giving me each episode. Like they're giving me just a little bit, like here, follow me, and I'm like, okay,
Oh, not too much. Not too
yeah,
much.
piece of candy. Yeah, like they
Don't
give you a
spoil
little
it. Don't
bit.
spoil yourself.
Yeah. You're gonna get full and you're not gonna have enough space for dinner. But it's really cool. I like that we're getting a little bit each episode. But bro, Noel, I have it in my notes. I wish you could see my notes. Noel got punched the fuck out, bro.
Dude.
I was like, yo, like she barely just came up, and then he was like, just like instant. It was wild.
Okay, I'll pull up. Boom.
Yeah,
he clocked her, dude.
Oh. And then like that's where like she got all torn, right? Like it just instantly on the floor, everything
in tatters.
Yeah.
And even Mimosa says, like, Mimosa goes to check in on her, and she's like, my healing cradle that I used when like I had to heal myself, that's not going to be enough here.
Yeah.
Like, so that means that Noel probably got hit twice as hard or 3 times as hard as that Mimosa got hit.
Insane.
Or whatever. And she's like, I have to use my strongest healing spell right now in order for there to be a chance Noel's going to get back up.
Like, yeah. It's really, I don't know. It's kind of weird that both the girls in this are the healers, and I was like, that's kind of tropey. Like that was the first time that I actually thought about it.
They kind of have more of the supportive magic. Yeah,
sure. Oracle Ara, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it was just kind of weird. I was like, Okay, that's kind of
It
weird.
does even I'm it is this episode because it's in response to seeing Noelle go down. Mimosa, we get a little bit of her, and where we see that like in her family, like even everybody was like impressed, like, oh my, your healing capabilities are like astronomical. You might be able to become a healer that can like heal any wound.
Mhm.
Like that's where you're at. Meanwhile, that other royal family has that girl that can't even control her magic. What's all that about?
Yeah.
Like, and so we get to see that kind of play out where that's them through kind of like adolescence, whereas children, it was always kind of Noelle the one looking after Mimosa. um you're a bit slow, in her
Yeah.
words.
I like that connection, and I thought, my last note for this episode was, like, Mars went after the healers first, which is a
Yeah.
pretty good strategy.
But he and then his whole thing playing out because of the trauma that he experienced with the experiments is the weak shall die, only the strong will survive. So he kind of goes into this berserk state where he sees people in a disempowered state, defenseless. I'm going to kill them. That's kind of what's all that's ringing through his head at that time.
And up until now, we don't know why. He's getting some flashbacks of a
We
girl,
see some, yeah.
just a little bit, but then in episode 19 is where it, like, kinda kicks off, where we learn all of his backstory pretty much. How do you feel about Mars as a character, as a villain right now? Because
As a villain, I mean, didn't expect him to get back up after the whole Asta took him out thing and Klaus like put the magic thing on him. Like I didn't expect him to get back up. Um the fact that he starts using flame magic is a really like interesting thing to do, to have this villain that can like, oh, he's got really strong magic that gives him offensive defensive capabilities. Oh, he can also heal himself. Like that sounds just like the ultimate guy. Like what else do you need at that point? um
it really reminded me of My Hero Academia.
with I haven't watched My Hero in a while.
What's his name?
Just Nomu's like how, or
No,
One
what's
for
his
All,
name?
right?
The guy that has the fire and the ice on him.
Oh, Todoroki. I'm
Just, yeah,
sorry.
Todoroki, just kinda
I'm sorry.
basic.
I thought you were thinking of All for One, with how he has like all the different quirks or whatever.
That's a good one, but no, I didn't think that far. I was just thinking basic ice, fire sort of thing.
Hmm.
There's a lot of, I don't know what came first. Is this like one of the original anime? Because I see a lot of like relations with other anime.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it was it the season was airing in 2013, I believe. I don't know when the manga began to release.
Oh, when the manga come out. Yeah, because the manga
Yeah,
came out first.
but the anime at least started airing in 2013. Um
Okay.
which is would be preceding My Hero Academia, because
Very
My
cool.
Hero began airing in 2016, I think.
Okay. Because like I see a lot of parallels with a lot of other anime. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. That it's something that we've seen before, but not really. And I'm like, okay, I don't know which one came first. If Black Clover was like the originator of stuff. But we get into episode 19, destruction and salvation, and this is the last episode we're gonna go over.
Mhm.
What? Give us a brief rundown. Episode 19.
At the top of the last episode, we actually see when Asta's defeating Mars with that empowered attack. He doesn't realize that a flying piece of debris impaled him like completely, and he keels over and he begins to bleed out. Noelle tells Mimosa to rush over there and begin to heal him, and and basically Mars wasn't completely incapacitated. He was just kind of like weakened for a moment. Then it goes full flashback mode for Mars. We get to see and dive into all the experiences that he had that led him through those experiments we hear about, and basically he's rearing up again to attack Asta. Everybody's reacting and everybody's kind of like, well, I'm still stuck, I'm still restrained. If only I had my grimoire. And everybody's trying to break free. Yuno breaks free just before the attack, as like the swing is coming down, and he's like, I don't even know what spell I can do, like nothing's gonna be fast enough, and time freezes in that instant. And this little fairy appears next to Yuno, and kind of like blows this little puff of wind towards the sword as everything's frozen in time, and it touches, makes contact with the sword. Time begins to run again, and in a moment, the sword shatters. All of Mars's armor, golem mode status shatters, and he gets like flying, sent against the wall with such impact that a crater forms in the wall. Um, Crazy. The whole dungeon begins to fall apart, and an escape ensues of sorts. Right before Asta insisting, like, "Hey, you need to grab that guy. Like, we came here to conquer a dungeon, not kill people." They aren't really able to get to him in time, regardless, and escaping the dungeon, Luck guides Yuno, who's navigating everybody with this huge wind chariot, and everybody else is like firing shots off at debris to keep the chariot safe. Everybody kind of like in this mode that like we are gonna get out of here. And yeah, the whole dungeon collapses. They escape just in the nick of time, and everybody reconvenes, sharing their thoughts and emotions about what just happened.
And that concludes the dungeon arc, the second arc for Black Clover. But I didn't mention it, or we didn't talk about it earlier, about how when they got into the room with all the treasures, that there was like so many different things. There was Noelle, she had like a bubble that helped her float, and I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of cute. Like they had a bunch of different items that piqued their interest, and it piqued my interest as well, because I was like, what does that mean? But the one that did the most was the scroll that Yuno saw, and then it just kind of, his grimoire glowed, and it kind of just
Mm-hmm.
copied out all of the stuff that was on the scroll. And
When time began to run in normal again, Yuno looked down at his grimoire to see all of those characters had been copied into his
mhm,
grimoire, i.e., kind of a new spell or something along those lines. But
yeah.
in the moment, he didn't mean to do it. Just, what happened? It just kind of happened.
uh so Mars at the beginning of this episode had his full fledged flashback,
Yeah, it
battle
completely
royale
plays out for
flashback.
us.
And I think the name was Vana or Fauna.
Fauna, I
Uh,
think.
Fauna was the fire girl, and so I had thought about it where it was like, why don't they just have why don't they just have a bunch of children magic users that they can use as an army? And then like when I saw him wreck everybody like in one move, I was
Hmm.
like, okay, maybe I don't know. Well, maybe that's why. Because like she was like instantly turned on him and was like, "This
Hmm.
is the only way. I'm gonna kill you." And he just got her in one shot, and I was like,
I Do you think that he was looking to perform a kill shot on her, or do you think that he acted in self-defense and was simply trying to put up something between them and it just so happened to impale her?
oh,
Because
because the
that's
way it,
how I feel like he wouldn't respond instantly to kill, but he would respond in self-defense. But if she's going for a kill shot and you're trying
it
to defend
just
yourself, yeah,
that's because
that's
that's how it showed it, right? Like it
mhm.
showed her like running, and he just does magic really quick, but she
He
just
doesn't
gets
even move.
impaled.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't even think about that. Um, I don't know.
It never really gives you an answer, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, that's gonna have me thinking for sure, because up until then we knew that he cared about her, and they had plans to see the outside world and do all these other things with together. But her being able to turn in just an instant, I just thought that he did the same thing. I just
Mhm.
thought like he turned evil, like, okay, this is how we're gonna have to play the game.
Because it kind
And
of
he,
shows, if I'm remembering correctly, it kind of shows like him look up at the life leave her, and he kind of has a
yeah, yeah.
yeah. He's like he's taken aback and traumatized and like saddened. It's not one of those like I accomplished the task. It's oh no, what have I done?
Okay. So yeah, that's not the way I saw it. I just thought like, man, like
Yeah.
I thought we could have done the thing. I don't know. It's very conflicting. There's a lot of ways you can interpret that, but that was I think his backstory is pretty solid, and the way that he acted afterwards, and growing up. makes sense. I don't think it's out of pocket for him, especially if he grew up being like the slave powerhouse for his
Never having a family.
country
Hmm.
and never having anybody else, him not knowing. They really push that portion where he doesn't have anybody, he doesn't know about friendship, he doesn't know about all this other stuff. So they really push that, like, if you're not strong enough, you're dead. Like, that's all he knows, and it makes sense.
And
So I
that's what
thought that was really cool.
I really like the line from Lotus, where um as it shows that the Lotus escaped with a bunch of treasure, and he also actually happened to grab Mars in time, and like Mars is safe. Mars like wakes up and seeing, realizing that like he did the things that he said he was going to do as a kid or whatever, something clicks in his head, and he looks over at Lotus and he's like, Lotus, like, thank you for saving me.
Yeah.
And Lotus is like, you say things like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you can do that? Like, that's a thing? And he's like completely caught off guard, almost as much as he was by somebody that didn't have magic.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Well, okay, that whole thing with him escaping at the end, with having his smoke fucking train be able he has enough magic mana in
I
him to
mean,
keep the
he's fought
train
the
going.
Wizard King before.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess
Remember?
so, but, like, he got hit pretty hard, no?
He
But to
did. He
have
said
the
a couple of
whole
his ribs were probably broken.
yeah, to have him be able to fly away and grab all his homies and to grab all the gold and some magical artifacts, I was like,
It
okay.
makes me it when he's escaping on that train, and like in a puff of smoke he almost like runs into a wall and then is just gone. It makes me think that his smoke magic also probably has properties similar to a Finral, where it's like he can control the magic of spaces, like, and move things around with his smoke, maybe only given if he has like line of sight or like something, or if he already predetermines where something is supposed to go. But yeah, it shows him like run out of there, like while they're all chasing him, and when they're like, oh, he got away, then all of his little guys, like, they all get covered in smoke and then they disappear too. It's like he didn't like lug them around or anything. He's just like, and you and you and you and you
Yeah.
with me, like,
It's
it's
giving
a lot. It's a lot that
yeah,
he can do.
it's also giving a lot because I'm watching Black Clover, or no, I'm watching, Hunter x
Hunter x
Hunter
Hunter.
right now, and the fucking guy that has the big old smoke thing, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm saying. There's like little similarities everywhere. I'm like, okay, I've seen this kind of before. But
Hmm.
hello everybody in the live chat. Thank you for joining us. We are discussing Black Clover episode 17, 18, and 19. We're going to talk about some other stuff really quick, but then we're going to pick the next anime that we're going to be watching. So thank you for being here. But um
Um,
no, I was just gonna say the whole mage stone in the head thing,
yes.
and the idea that you can enhance your power by having magical artifacts in you. That's an interesting concept, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't
Hmm.
know. I just don't want it to go overboard, kind of the way I see Hunter x Hunter right now, because I'm episode 130 something something, and I feel like it's ramping up quite a bit already, and I know for Black Clover there's like 100 something episodes as well. So I kind of want them to play in this space right now. I don't want them to get too powerful, because Mars seemed pretty powerful
Hmm.
because of the magical thing, whatever. And if they're introducing a lot of stuff like this, I'm like, just don't. You know what I
In
mean?
Yes, with the context of what of all my knowledge, it is one of those things where I can say that the scope does like definitely open up and broaden, but I think because Black Clover is post Hunter x Hunter, um, they kind of take a lot more like stride along the way, and whereas Hunter x Hunter between York New City and
Greed
Chimera
Island
Antark, that Greed Island just doesn't feel like a stride. It feels like an absolute leap of faith into
for sure.
something completely different, which is not a knock on the series. That's not to say it's bad. That's just calling it for what it is and how I feel the story execution was
Yeah.
handled.
Because Mars, we're already introduced to the idea that you can take half of somebody's grimoire
Mm-hmm.
and have those powers as well. And I'm like, okay, what? Like, let me.
But with Klaus, it seems to be something that is not seen before, maybe even unheard of
Sure,
amidst the Clover Kingdom. And Klaus is a member of the Golden Dawn. Who do we expect to know more than members of the Golden Dawn
sure.
in the Clover
So these
Kingdom?
are like the experiments that just sort of happened in the underground, and these are the. I feel why. Okay, I have a lot of questions about the series or about the world because
Hmm.
we're getting that drip feed of stuff, and I'm like, why are they making this superpower kid? Like, why are they making this? Are they going to go to war? Who's going to go to war? What are these magic stones? What are all this stuff? um I also put here learning spells reminds me of Power Rangers. Unlocking new spells is interesting. Stop time. Okay, that was because I thought did it. I did not even think about the scroll thing, but like every time it's giving me enough, this show. From now we're gonna stop talking much about episode 19, but we're gonna start talking about the show in
Hmm.
general. Because this is the last episode we're gonna watch for the show, and then right soon we're gonna pick a new anime to watch, and you can watch along with us throughout the weeks. We're gonna watch a couple episodes. We'll explain in a little bit, but um, it's like it's kind of classic like shonen where they're like, oh no, we're down and out, we're almost done, we can't fight anymore, and then something happens. You get the new fast sword, you get or somebody Noel learns a new spell like we saw in a past episode. So and so this happens, and I'm like, it's kind of like Power Rangers where they're like, oh no, we're almost done, and they're like, we got a new weapon. And then like this is uh a new mega sword formation. It's like, whoa, like kind of like that. So it's giving a lot. That's just what it reminded me of.
Yeah. Um, one character,
Fast sword, Kaylee. Fast
one
sword. He
character has put into words in the show already exactly what you're describing. And that's Yami Sukahiro when he says, "Surpass your limits."
sure.
It's right there.
I'm not. I'm okay with it. I get it. That's how it happens.
Hmm.
And I get how that's the show. Shows how it's supposed to be like that. I don't know. I'm just
No, yeah,
pointing
yeah,
it
yeah.
out
No, yeah,
that
yeah.
it reminded me of Power Rangers, and that's kind of why I
It's
like Power Rangers because they're like, oh, new thing, and I'm like,
mhm.
ah, cool.
I
Um,
I love it. It's really cool.
fast sword and big blocky sword. Those are the two weapons that
Fast sword
Asta
and
has.
big sword.
Yeah, fast sword and big sword.
One last thing I wanted to
This
say
is
about episode
okay.
19.
This is fast sword in question.
I love how as they're I mean, let's be real, throughout all of that, this whole dungeon arc, Asta put a lot like right on his back right up until like getting completely impaled and like almost dying. And while the whole party's escaping, like everybody is thinking about like getting out of there, but they're also thinking like we collectively are not going to let Asta die. Like this kid just did so much for us.
Hmm.
Like it's our turn to like look out for him and to make sure that he's able to get out of this scenario.
Sure.
And I when like it shows all of them like we're firing off the things. I'm guiding Yuno. Yuno's like controlling the cyclone. Mimosa's healing him. Like they're all doing their part to make sure that they can get out of there. And I even though like it's just a silly little escape sequence. Like it's so cool in context.
Bro, it hit.
It
And
did.
we didn't talk about it, but I loved the meeting. I think it was in episode 17, when Asta saves once again, so owes him. Where they all kind of meet, and now we finally have these two groups of characters interacting with each other. And we already knew we had a little bit of interaction. We already know uh Mimosa.
Hmm.
Okay, I gotta write it down because I keep wanting to say margarita. Mimosa and Noel, we already know that they had connection. We already know that they had some backstory. But seeing these two groups of characters, man, it was so cool. Like it was
Hmm.
so dope seeing these two interact, and like you were saying, the escape scene when they're all like firing, and then Noel's like, I hit one, like, oh cool, like I did it. And like that was just so dope to see your faves just working together. And I was so hyped for it. I was so hyped for this escape scene as well. And I was hyped for them to interact. And man, it was so dope. It was so
Yeah,
much
because
fun.
on the other end of it, then you get Klaus who approaches Yuno and Asta, and he's like, "I'm sorry." Like, like flat out, he just apologizes for how
Yeah,
he's been acting and handling like his interactions with them over the fact that they're, from the Forsaken Realm.
I love that.
He just flat out
It's
apologizes,
like,
and he's like, I'm gonna be different."
yeah. So we get, oh man. So think like as I was watching it, this last episode in general, like I thought about like the complete ride we've gone on and how much character development we've actually had from episode 1 to 19, because it was a lot. We had a
Hmm.
lot of changes. We had a lot of our faves like doing some cool stuff, but also like growing a little bit. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So um we're definitely gonna talk about our final thoughts about this, but this is the end of the Jules and Matt Anime Hour Black Clover arc. We just watched from episode 1 through 19. Shout out to everybody that joined us, but um, uh, I gotta say, once I'm done with Hunter x Hunter, I am definitely gonna be watching this on my own time because I have so many questions, so many thoughts, and oh man, um, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was.
Hmm.
So, even though like at the beginning it was like a rough start, I was
Hmm.
like, "Mm,
It
okay,"
gets all that stuff out of the way very fast, I feel
but the
like.
but the world is so cool,
Hmm.
and the ideas, and I love magic, and for the most part, the fights are hidden. The fights are hidden, like I'm saying, whenever something cool happens, Asta says something cool, and it doesn't come off as weird, or it doesn't come off as like, okay, I don't know if he would say that, or like, calm down, kid. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't come off like that. It comes off of like, yo, I'm hyped. So I really like, I'm really in it. So
I think in these 3 episodes, he only says that he's gonna be the Wizard King once.
one
Yep,
time, let's
one
go,
time.
new record within the within these 3 episodes. He only said, I don't even think he said he's gonna, oh no, he did say it. He's like, I'm gonna,
And it
if
was
I'm
just
gonna be the
between him
Wizard
and
King,
I think, like,
or I think
right
it
at
was
the tail end of
Mars.
everything.
No, no,
Maybe.
it was, I think, where he was like, "If I'm gonna be the Wizard King." No, it was during the episode 17 where he was fighting Mars, and he's like, "I'm not gonna give up, and if I'm gonna be the Wizard King, I'm gonna have to fight." And I was like, "Yo!"
Right.
And then he said, "If I'm sure, I may be a pebble, but I'll be the pebble that shatters the diamond." Oh, so cool.
This is growth.
But
This is growth.
this is growth for sure. We got to get into it. We got to pick a new anime for
Mhm.
for the next couple weeks. But the way we're going to grade this, and whenever we finish an anime, this is the first time we're finishing an anime, we're going to judge it on 3 different categories. We have storytelling, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, animation, and then vibes. So those are the 3 categories we're going to judge each anime that we watch, and we're going to discuss a little bit, and then we're going to have like a little tier chart, show you where we
Mhm.
put it. But first off, Matt, where do you rank Black Clover from 1 through 19, the first 2 arcs, on storytelling? Give me a little bit of your thoughts.
For the first 2 arcs of, specifically for Black Clover, I I give it a solid, like, A minus in its storytelling, and when I'm thinking storytelling, I'm thinking of the world building that the show is giving us, the characterization that they put towards all of the people that we get to see and interact with, and anything in accordance to the show setting something up and then providing payoff to the audience who is paying attention and engaged with the show. I think through like just these first 19 episodes, we see that in bounds. All 3 of those things, like this show has covered. The only the only reason I wouldn't like prop it right up to an A plus or S tier would be that I think it does have like a couple moments with the side characters where the setup payoff could have been better. But I still think there's plenty more to go around. How about you though? How would you rate this the first two arcs of this show for its storytelling?
I'm gonna say for storytelling, I think it's a B for me. Just solid B. Yeah, I think it was B. Just because like you were saying, I like um some of the stuff that it's getting into. I love like the drip feed that we keep talking about of like the information of the world and all that stuff. But um hmm, now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm really thinking about it. I don't know. It's really hard because I did enjoy it, but deciding on why I enjoyed it between storytelling and vibes, because storytelling right now for me it seemed and started out for a while very simple, and that could be a good or bad thing, and I'm leaning on both. Like it could be a good thing that it was very simple. These two guys are rivals. They want to be the Wizard King. That's it. That's basically it. In a world of magic, this guy has no magic, whatever. But sometimes I feel like I wish there was a little bit more. But then, like on the side characters, they give us a little bit more because of all in-depth side character stuff. So it's really difficult. So I'm just gonna say B. C is average. B is above average, I think, for me. So B is storytelling because again, it's really simple. But as we're going on, I'm sure it's gonna get pretty intense, and there's a lot more there. But I don't know. This
Mhm.
was hard for me because I did enjoy it. Animation though, animation. What are your thoughts about the animation? Where do you put that?
For the animation, this is like again, this is for the first two arcs of the show that we're
1 through
talking.
19 that we watched.
I
Yes.
would give the animation like C minus, maybe even. I was thinking even like bordering into D plus range for a little bit, but like I think it's C minus, just like slightly below average. Just the animation, sometimes it's not always there. Some like I'm constantly like looking for what's happening. Like what is in this very moment, what's on screen, what is trying to be conveyed to me. And I feel like a lot of times there just was moments where they could have been doing something better with the time that was being spent. A lot of the cuts could feel jumpy sometimes, and um, a lot of assets. Sometimes they would like give re-rolls on something that just happened. One thing that kind of stuck out is when the Mars had all of his clones running around. When Yuno and Luck take out a batch of them, they play like the same shot, the same like way that they're getting like destroyed, which is like whatever. All it's trying to tell me, they destroyed them. But again, we're
But
talking about the animation.
yeah,
And so the things like that really stick out to me. When it does deliver, it delivers, which is
sure.
what keeps it in the C range for me. Because if it didn't have any of those high delivery moments, that's what would have gotten it into the D. Um, but what
Yeah.
about you for animation?
I think it was just like you were saying, it was just very inconsistent.
Hmm.
A lot of it was very inconsistent. Like during these past 3 episodes that we talked about today, a lot of it hit, and a lot of it because it was the fight scene, a lot of it did hit. But then a lot of it was during the whole show was like sometimes somebody had like a little funny face and sometimes they didn't do the whole thing. But then sometimes you can tell it was like CG, like huge, great, like somebody worked on it really well, but like for only a couple of frames. And then it was
Hmm.
like back to whatever. And I was like, this is just very inconsistent. I was just like, this is not meshing well, especially on I think it was episode 17, the Mars Asta fight. Or
Yes.
no, I think it was throughout this whole thing, throughout these last 3
In
episodes.
episode 17, Mars and Asta's fight's very lackluster, but I think it's because all the budget went to Yuno and all the tricks he's doing in the air.
Sure.
So, like you said, but that's inconsistency in a nutshell. They
Yeah.
aren't balancing the episodes.
But it is very inconsistent. And so I think I'm gonna go C plus, C plus because yeah, it's not the greatest as far as animation, but I do like the intro is really cool. That's really cool. But it is just very inconsistent with how they do it. And yeah, it's okay. I've seen better, but sometimes it's really good, like you're saying. Sometimes it's great.
Hmm.
So vibes, on general vibes of episode 1 through 19, how did you feel here, and where did you put it?
Yeah, for the general vibes of the show, first two arcs, I gave it just B, a straight B. It's my arbitrary choice. No, but I really do think the show, like, when I'm thinking vibes, I'm like thinking about, like, just general presentation, how the show is able to hold me and like keep me wanting more and stuff like that. If, like, me personally, how am I enjoying the show? I can say that a show has absolutely awful animation, but I could still enjoy it if I'm
Sure.
like not trying to enjoy it for the animation,
I mean, you play
etc.
games with the bad graphics all the time.
Exactly. I play little 8-bit, 16-bit
Yeah.
games that have low texture
No
quality, whatever.
polygons,
No
2 polygons.
polygons, one dimension. Yeah, so you can still get a lot out of the show even still, but for me, like, for me, I would give this show a B. I think it's like, even though I'm rewatching it, it's like I love getting to see all of these like story beats and like stuff happen again, all the feats that people are achieving, um getting to see like connections happening again between characters, where like with the context of how things are at later on down the series and stuff,
Sure.
like getting to see Klaus go from a prick to being nice to Asta and Yuno again, like stuff like that. I just think it's an enjoyable watch for sure,
And
even
I
for a
like that
casual
we
audience.
Sure, and I like that we saw that. I like that we saw the reason and him actually saying sorry. So, like, there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to talk about because it's just so much to go deep into it. But,
For the
um,
vibes for you, where would you put the vibes for the
vibes,
show?
I'm gonna give vibes an A. I really enjoyed it. I don't think I can say it enough, and I don't know if I'm, like, conveying that well, but I really enjoyed watching the show, mainly because it had just enough action. It has just enough action for me to where I'm like, "Yo, action." Like, I love watching fights and stuff. Um, and it had just enough silly vibes to it. There was enough silly moments with the little bird. You always see him in Asta's hair, and he's just kinda, like, and I'm like, whenever something's happening, I'm like, "Oh, look at the little bird. Like, look at him. He's just there." So I love that. I love, like, the silly little, like, moments they have together with the black bulls. I love all the little silly things, and I think it was just a great combination. While it doesn't have the greatest animation, I think the vibes were there because I'm really falling for the characters. I really like Noelle. Yuno's cool, and Asta's kind of growing on me, and like all everybody, and all the Black Bulls, and we saw what they call him, Look, the cheery berserker. I
Yeah.
I love all these little characters. I love all these little guys, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. So it has for me just enough of the silly. It's not too silly. And then when I'm like, okay, this is getting a little too silly, it hits like fights and like
Hmm.
fight scenes and all that stuff. I'm
It
like,
changes it up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's an A for me. Um, so that's what I rated on vibes. So our final vote is for Black Clover. First two arcs up to episode 19. I have it at
Drum roll,
B.
please.
I have it at a B, and Matt, you had it at a B minus, right?
Hmm. B minus overall.
So every time we finish a anime, we're gonna put it on this tier list, and yeah. So that's what we're gonna do every time we finish an anime. This is our first time finishing an anime for the
Woo!
Jules and Matt Anime Hour. So that's how the tier list is gonna work. And then after we're done a couple, you'll be like, oh, look at that. I remember when they watched Black Clover. I remember when they
Hmm.
watched this one and all that stuff. So
And
that's
keep in
where
mind that it is in reference to what we've watched here and talked about here about the show. We're not saying that the entire series we're rating it a B, but
sure.
just what we've talked about here, what the thoughts that we've shared, um where that left us with putting it on a rating board.
Yeah.
Because if I were to get into the entire series, it would recontextualize my answers for sure and stuff.
So yeah, this is up to episode 19. I'm gonna keep watching it. If you want to keep like talking to me about it, like, oh, Jules, where are you at in Black Clover? I'm gonna finish Hunter x Hunter. I only have like less than 20 episodes left, and then I'm probably gonna binge this one. because there's only like 10 minutes an episode, so it's gonna go pretty fast. So we are gonna pick the next anime that we're gonna watch, and we would love it if you gave it a watch with us. Um, did you
That
add
being said,
Overlord?
I
Here,
was I was on that right now. If
okay.
that's
I'll
we're
vamp
doing
a
that for
little
this
bit.
time, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. I'll vamp a little bit. Thank you to Drew, who gave 500 bits. So the way you can get an anime put into the treasure chest, if you're like, oh man, I want them to watch this show next. There's the treasure chest right there.
Chest ASMR.
Some treasure chest Damar. Ooh, the little lock thing. Nice, love that. But a
Yeah,
way you can do
already.
it is if you donate 500 bits during the show and just name us an anime and it will be thrown in there. If it's not etchy or anything weird, just we'll put it in there. One Piece next anime. Okay. We're gonna go through we're a One Piece anime show now. Um, but yeah, that's how you can get it if you watch it live on Thursdays, everywhere else. So YouTube, all that stuff. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that. You can watch it. But we have two users submitted from CZD. We have one Gotchaman Crowds. We have one from today from Drew Overlord. And the two that I put in because Black Clover was Matt's pick was Odd Taxi, right? That's what's called?
Odd Taxi.
Odd Taxi and Zombieland Saga. Zombieland Saga. We'll talk about it in the Discord for sure. If that's the pick. But my two picks were Overlord, or not Overlord, Odd Taxi, and Zombieland Saga.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, your pick was
Mob Psycho 100.
Mob Psycho 100. Classic Jules pick with the zombies. It's zombies and pretty girls. So who knows, man? So we are gonna pick and we are gonna watch the first arc or so. Depending on what you know.
We'll gauge it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can watch 12 episodes of all of these anime and be okay. So I think the goal is 12 episodes. So without further ado, we're gonna pick our next anime, and we would love for you to watch with us. So you can come back and discuss it every Thursday with us because all of these anime I haven't seen, all of these anime Matt hasn't seen. So this is gonna be a new experience for Matt because he saw Black Clover before, but all of these are new. So Matt, this is gonna decide our fate for the next 3 weeks for the last of 2022.
Let's see what is in store. Ah, I almost dropped it.
Oh,
okay.
Come on.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and like just rustle them around here for a moment.
Russell.
We got all these little pieces of paper in here, and I'm gonna now get my little fingies on one. And and that's upside down.
Oh, Gotchaman Crowds.
Gotchaman Crowds.
So that's CZD's pick.
I should have wrote their name on it.
Oh, true. I mean, yeah, if we get a lot more, you can write their name on it. But Gotchaman Crowds, I know there's 2 seasons of it. Yeah, Overlord has 13 in the first season, so you'd watch the whole season in one go. So yeah, we're gonna watch yeah, we'll watch the first season or so. We'll see how many episodes of all these are. But Gotchaman Crowds, which is CZD's pick, we're gonna be watching that next for the next couple episodes. So before next Thursday, if you would like to join in the conversation and talk, because it's going to be our lives for the next couple weeks, watch the first 4 episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Gotchaman Crowds. It's on Crunchyroll. Might be on Netflix, but I know there's 2 of them. Make sure you're on the first season because there's Gotchaman Crowds. Let me look it up real quick. Gotchaman Crowds. I know there's 2. Season 2 is called something else. But make sure it's the right one. Gotchaman Crowds. Insight. Watch the first season, watch the first 4 episodes, and next week we're going to be discussing the first 4 episodes of Gotchaman Crowd. So that was the end of Black Clover that was our first anime that we finished. Matt, how do you feel?
I feel great. That went by a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. Weeks kind of flew by on that. I really enjoyed rewatching Black Clover, getting to talk about it here, but I'm super excited to start something new.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's kind of why we want to keep it fast, because we want to get through anime. I want to watch more anime, Matt. I don't know about you. I want to watch new stuff. I want to figure out what I like.
I'm ready to see something new.
So before next week, next Thursday, we'll be right here at the same time. Watch episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the episodes we're going to watch and talk about for Gotcha Man Crowds, submitted by CZD. Thank you. Thank you again for Drew for donating and getting their. These are going to stay in there. Whatever's in the box is going to stay in there, and we're going to add more. You can add more if you donate 500 bits during the show. But thank you so much, Matt. Where can they find you on the internet?
On the internet, all my socials at it's Matt_Galley, except for here on Twitch, where you can find me at just Matt_Galley.
Very cool. I'm Jules the Human, JULES the Human on all social media. Watch on YouTube. You can watch the show on my YouTube channel. Jules the Human on everything. I don't know. Twitter. I got the burps. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can watch the show on Spotify. If you didn't know, you can watch videos. You can watch the replay if you're here, or you could watch all the videos on Spotify as well. Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review or hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. But that's the end of this episode. And next week, we're going to be talking about a brand new anime. So let's go. See you next week. And hope you have a good rest of your day.
Bye.